Okay, so welcome, good afternoon. This is the third occasion to deepen the situation on children's rights in Palestine. At the moment, there's a series of seminars organized by Defense for Children International, together with the CRIN, the Child Rights International Network. While the dramatic situation is evolving on the field, we really would like to devote this moment to deepen our understanding and our knowledge on the situation. And we invited many, important speakers to this occasion in order to help us in understanding what can be done. Actually, this is the real question. We would like to address the impact of the military occupation on the West Bank and, the unfolding genocide in Gaza, the responsibility of states and the international system to support and protect children's rights, and of course, the effort that to use existing mechanisms for accountability of the international community as well as the states directly involved. The situation is, as I said, I was reading the last news, it's really dramatic, and we all feel the pressure of these. I would like just to say that this series of seminars is really helping us in being closest to the situation, and I know how much sufferance it gives us. Also the question of what we can do to stop this kind of very, very terrible situation. I invite you technically to close your microphone. We decided for this seminar to keep just the camera of the panelists open. I see that all the microphones are closed in order to avoid overlapping of voices. And we will have the opportunity today to hear actually two speakers for now. Actually, we had a kind of a problem for this conference. In the first instance, Professor Nadira Shalhoub-Kevorkian was arrested in April by the Israeli authorities. This was the reason why we postponed the meeting that was supposed to be in April, and she is pending now a trial related to her statement. And many universities, including her own, the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, as well as the International Association of University Professors, and many individuals protested for this new attack of the Israeli government to freedom of speech and academics. I think that maybe today we are going to touch on the. We are having today Dr. Moushira Khattab that will speak first, and then Jaap. I will do a presentation later, but I will ask Alex if we can send the short movie that we decided to start with this appointment today. Is something that will probably help us to feel closest to the Palestinian children we are talking about at the moment. Thank you very much.
كل أهل استشهد، ماما وبابا وأخواتي كلهم وعمي راحوا استشهد، فأنا طلعت منهم الوحيدة. أنا اسمي نتاج، عمري 8 سنين، سكان جحر الديك. قبل ما تيجي الحرب كنا بجحر الديك، قصف جحر الديك رحنا على المدارس. بابا صاوب رحنا على دار سيدو. قصفوا كل دار سيدو قصفوها، كل العمارة. أمي وأبويا كلهم استشهدوا وإخواتي. وعمي محمود استشهد. ما عدا أنا طلعت من تحت الأرض. قعدت أنا يومين تحت الركاب. قعدت معايا طلعوني، تاني يوم طلعوني. ودوني على مدرسة، غيروا رجلي. كانت رجلي بس باينة الكفة. بعدين الزلمة ودينا على المستشفى. على الشفا وداني. بعدها ايش الدكتور فتح رجلي لكل الدود هر قطعوها. بعدين دورت كم مرة قطعوها. بعدين كم مرة قطعوها. 3 عمليات عملت. كل يوم بنام بس ما بعرفش انام. نفسي لما مرتاحة عشان رجلي. كل يوم بتألم فيها بستحمل. بحبش اعيط. هذه امي الله يرحمها. كل يوم بذاكر ماما بصير اعيط وبصير اذكر كانوا ياخذوني على المول وكانوا يحنوا عليا. كل إلا دار نقعد فيها. المدرسة ما فيش فيها نظافة وبكنسوش ولا إشي وبنام على فرشة وسخة وفيش نظافة يعني بالمدرسة. كل يوم بنصوم. لما يأدي أنا ما بكلش حاجة ونطة بكون في عنا ولا راح بنشرب. وكل يوم بنصوم. بس أنا وعبت نقعد بدار وننام وحدة وننام وما نسمعش قصف. نفسي تخلص الحرب نفسي.
Dieses neue Gadget ist im Grunde genommen eine Superzoom-Linse für Ihr Smartphone.
Thank you very much. There is no comment for this in terms of we are assisting vulnerability, but also strength. I'm really, very touched by the strength of this little child talking to us. Please share this video. Defense for Children is producing a series of this video to sensitize people that do not have the occasion to see on our main media sometimes, this kind of information. So thank you very much for passing it. I will straightforwardly give the floor to Dr. Moushira Khattab. Thank you very much for being with us, Dr. Khattab. Dr. Khattab is a career diplomat and a human rights advocate. She's Egypt former Minister of Family and Population, former Assistant Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador of Egypt to the Republic of South Africa, the Czech Republic, and Slovakia. She has served as rapporteur and vice chair of the United Nations Committee on the Rights of the Child in Geneva, and as the first vice chairperson of the African Committee of Experts on the Rights and Welfare of the Child. Thank you, Dr. Khattab, again for being with us. You have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, dear colleagues, supporters of protection, promotion, and provision of human rights for every child without any discrimination on any ground. It's a great honor to join this esteemed panel. Actually, the plight of Palestinian children is an affront and disgrace to humanity and human dignity. They are victims to genocide as defined by the Genocide Convention. Article 1 defines genocide, and Article 2 cites acts considered as genocide, and Article 3 criminalizes a third party supporting a state committing genocide. And actually, yesterday, the Arab Network for National Human Rights Institutions held a meeting on the responsibility of third-party states to genocide. And it was very well attended, actually, and an eye-opener for those countries supporting perpetrators of genocide. And we stressed yesterday that there isn't a statute of limitations on ethnic cleansing, that it is a crime against humanity, and the war on Palestinian children is a testament to double standards and to human rights status as the Achilles heels of nations. In this day and age, never ever have the human rights of the population of the Middle East and North Africa been as flagrantly violated as they are today. It is ironic that the global community is allowing this to happen in 2024, when calls for freedoms of all sorts have never been louder. Today, it is the rights of Palestinians, and who knows what tomorrow will bring in this chaos. This stands to threaten international peace and security. Victims are not only those innocent children who were killed fighting for their lives inside hospitals, stripped of the basic medical care, even stripped of power supply. Again, this comes at a time when we, human rights defenders, call for running water and electricity in every corner of the globe. It's not only those hungry, severely malnourished children, victims of forced eviction, who were shot while reaching out for food airdropped to them. It's not only those innocent civilians and entire families estranged as they were forcefully evicted from the homes they lived in for hundreds of years and pushed into battlefield. Not only that, an embattled UNRWA, stripped of all resources, based on nothing more than unverified accusations, an incapacitated organization stripped of the means to assist civilians, notably children, under military attack. Actually, it is the entire population of the MENA region that is under military attack. We have seen oppression of any attempt to shed light on the light of innocent Palestinian children and their families. It is even more difficult to find data. So far, around 35,000 Palestinian children and innocent civilians have been killed. Not only is this not only unprecedented, there is also no hope inside for sustainable cessation of hostilities. We can unfortunately ascertain that human dignity has never been so disgracefully violated. Millions of children and young people have been traumatized and deeply humiliated, abused, and violated flagrantly as Gaza continues to come under immense destruction of infrastructure and use of lethal power of demolition. When we see the rubbles coming after the explosions, it's practically powder. Considering the global and unanimous ratification of the Convention on the Rights of the Child, the ongoing disgraceful violation of such a convention must stop immediately. It should be the only acceptable way forward. We must ensure the human rights of the Palestinian people, starting by the right to self-determination as guaranteed by the international covenants of civil and political rights and that of economic, social, and cultural rights, guaranteed by the CRC, by CEDAW, among other human rights instruments. It is incumbent upon the United Nations to ensure the right of the Palestinian people to live in their own viable Palestinian state and as full-fledged member of the United Nations. It is a shame that Palestine is the only occupied nation. Not only that, but more so to be denied the right to become a full-fledged member of the United Nations like the rest of over 196 states. Becoming a member of the UN is the inevitable implementation of the UN Resolution 181. If we are to restore confidence in our multilateralism and the UN human rights system, it should start with Palestine. Such membership will hold the Palestinian state accountable for the protection, promotion, and provision of human rights for every child under its jurisdiction. This is the minimum that can give reason to hope for peace, not only in the Middle East, but in the world at large. Hope is legitimate. I will stop here, and if you want me to expound on the steps that we have taken, I have visited Arish twice, where we have seen the cars carrying food and medicine stranded at the Rafah crossing under the pretext of security checks. And we have seen airdrops of 8,000 prepared meals for children. This is nothing. This is a drop in the ocean, really. We must make sure that the Palestinian children now are victims of genocide, and genocide is criminalized. It's a crime against humanity. On the 26th of January, the International Court of Justice ordered provisional measures, and we have seen how the Israeli Prime Minister has belittled this. This is the way forward to implement what South Africa presented to the International Court of Justice. Israel claimed that it is the only democracy in the Middle East, yet it went to the International Court of Justice on the account of violating international human rights law and international humanitarian law. And actually, the United Nations is to be blamed for implementing half of Resolution 181, the half concerning the declaration of the Israeli state, and now the Palestinian state still waits to be declared. And this should be our focus, my dear friends. Nothing less for the Palestinian people is to have their viable state and to commit this state to the protection and fulfillment of the human rights of every child under its jurisdiction. And Israel, as the occupying power, is under legal obligation to fulfill the human rights of every human being under its jurisdiction. Gaza, the people in Gaza are living in horrors. And I will stop here if you want me to give you more details about what we discussed with the High Commissioner for Human Rights. We met with the High Commissioner for Human Rights and we explained to him what we did. The High Commissioner for Human Rights was here with us this morning addressing Ganri, but it was on a different subject, on business and human rights. But our meeting with him in his office in Geneva, as the Arab Network for National Human Rights Institutions, we could feel the pressure on him. We could feel that actually Israel now is, how can I say, intimidating anyone who provides data or calls for the rights of the Palestinian children and people. And actually, this is an immediate threat to international peace and security because children and adolescents who see their families killed, tortured, they are injured. And I am afraid that they would want to revenge. And that's why there will be no peace, no security if there is no hope in the Middle East. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Khattab. I'm very straightforward indication you provided also in remembering third parties' responsibility and this really kind of intimidation. And I would say that also this series of seminars is a reaction to this intimidation. We really think that you know, these voices, the voices of witness and of the international community should be mainstreamed in the public arena. So thank you very much for remembering also how this situation is related with things that are historic in terms of the obligation that were violated also in the past. Again, we have another speaker that can enrich our understanding and our discourse is Jaap Doek. He's a Dutch jurist specializing in family and juvenile law. He's a professor of law at the Vrije University in Amsterdam. And he was the dean of the law faculty from 1988 to 92. He is deputy justice in the Court of Appeal of Amsterdam, and he was a juvenile court judge in the District Court of Alkmaar and The Hague. He was elected to the United Nations Committee on the Rights of the Child in February 1999, and from May 2001 to the end of his mandate in February 2007, served as its chairperson. And of course, he can provide us a very sound perspective connected with children's rights on this situation. Thank you for being with us, Professor Doek, and you have the floor.
Thank you very much for this introduction. And one of the things you didn't mention, that I had the pleasure in my capacity as chairperson of the Committee on the Rights of the Child to work with Moushira, which was a very constructive and also inspiring period in
You are my mentor.
dealing with children's rights. Dear friends, dear colleagues, it is a very difficult topic to deal with. Let me say first, I'm sick of all governments in the world that express their concern about the situation in Gaza. And I'm very angry for that reason. I think the international community and a lot of countries that kind of traditionally claim to be the ambassadors of human rights, they have to be shamed for all the lack of activities. The issue is a difficult one because there is the kind of long-term sustainable solution that was presented by Moushira very well. What we need is a full recognition and a full respect for the state of Palestine. And that is certainly the next step after this particular disaster by a government that doesn't deserve any particular consideration by whoever wants to do that. That's the long. The short term is creating a feeling of helplessness. You have the, more than 15,000 children killed in Gaza. There are 1.2 million Palestinian people in Rafah. There is that particular kind of action of Israel. It's that kind of very dangerous and also, again, accepted little step of removing 100,000 people from Rafah and entering with tanks that area. The next step is they are going to move 200,000 and then 300 and so on and so forth. They are criminals. They are war criminals. But that's the short-term situation. And when you look at the humanitarian rules and the humanitarian help that those people need and the children need, it's very difficult. It's almost impossible to provide them with to cover the needs that they have. And there is a lot of courage shown in efforts to provide the people in the Gaza with food, with water, with medicine, despite the incredible violent actions of the Israeli military in Gaza. So what can we do for children? More than actually is happening, I don't know. One thing that we did in the Netherlands was initiated by a NGO in the Netherlands that I am the chair of the board, called the Rights Forum, together with PAX and Oxfam. going to court, trying to get an order for the Dutch government to stop all delivery of materials for the F-35 warplanes. There is a location in the Netherlands where they store, and it comes for a large part from the United States. They store all those materials for maintaining, but also strengthening the capacity of those F-35 warplanes. So we went to the court in the Netherlands. I'm not going into detail because it's too complicated, but the striking thing was that the Dutch government gave a permission in 2016 for the export and transfer of those materials to Israel, final destination Israel. The first claim was that the government of the Netherlands had to review that particular permission. The court in first instance said it's not necessary. So we went in and go in appeal. In appeal, the Court of Appeal of The Hague, and it's a long procedure, but the final decision of that court was that it ordered the state, that means the state of the Netherlands, to stop within 7 days with export and transfer of F-35 materials with the final destination Israel. The kind of amazing, disturbing, concerning action of the government of the Netherlands was try to go around that particular order. One of those little roads around it was that they claimed that the court had said that the export and transfer of material in that particular location in the Netherlands, that was forbidden. There is nothing in the decision of that court that makes a reference to the location of the material that was and is exported and transferred to Israel. So that is that it is clear that the Netherlands is trying to go around it. So the next step in the process that we are now considering is a very short-term proceedings in which we ask the court to confirm the decision made and to order the government to do it with a penalty, a financial penalty, let's say 50,000 euros per day that the government is not complying completely with the order of the court. So that's the one thing. The other is that in Germany, there is another case in court in Germany where the government of Germany, there was filed a criminal complaint against the government of Germany for aiding and abetting genocide against the Palestinian people in Gaza. That is underway. It happens in February this year, and I don't know exactly where it is and what the current status of that proceeding is. But anyway, what it shows is that one way to deal with this particular issue is a kind of a collective action, perhaps not from the government, but from the NGO community. Go to a court in a country that delivers weapons, munition, anything that facilitates and amounts to aid and abetting genocide in Gaza, and go to those courts and file for an order that prohibits the government to deliver that particular weaponry, because that is, if we can organize that as an NGO community, we can challenge the international political community in their failure to meet the basic human rights rules and the humanitarian rules. So it's that particular possibility that we should consider, discuss, and see how we also from the perspective of these DCI and their national sections identify countries where and the governments that deliver weapons to Israel and go to court and try the court and find the court ready to order a prohibition of that delivery. So that is the one thing that we can do in addition to all the important daily things that are happening in Gaza under very difficult circumstances. The other issue I want to raise as an opportunity is that the Israeli government is scheduled to meet with the Committee on the Rights of the Child in Geneva in September. The traditional practice that most of you are familiar with is that after the report has submitted, it's report 5 and 6 in combined report 5 and 6. It was submitted in 2019. The next step in that process is that the committee sends a list of issues to the government of Israel. The answers to that list of issues have been received by the committee, but all that took place before October 7 last year. But the committee felt that there had to be an additional list of issues, as they call them. It is, in simple terms, a list of questions for additional information from the government of Israel. And that was approved by the committee, that list of issues, in the session in February this year. It has been sent to the government of Israel, and they are told that answers to that list of issues of March 24 should be submitted before June 24 this year. And the list of issues, and I'm not going to read it, but it is composed of 3 elements. First element is information about the impact of the attack of October 7 on children in Israel. Number of children who were killed and injured, number of children taken hostages to Gaza, and the measures to ensure access to healthcare and so on for children in Israel. So that's the first part, is children in Israel. The second part is on the rights of children in the occupied Palestinian territory, the West Bank in short terms. And the third is, of course, on the children in Gaza. So what is expected here is that the Israeli government is going to provide the information that the committee is asking for. Whether that will happen, we don't know. By June 15, the deadline, we will find out whether they did respond to the request for information and what the answers are. They may claim to need some more time, that's fine. But what is the challenge for us as the international, national NGO community, and particularly I'm looking at Khaled and DCI-Palestine, and to see how you can organize responses to those questions of the committee, because you may assume that the answers from the Israeli government are most likely not going to be satisfactory. And a lot of questions may not get an answer at all, or an excuse that they don't have the information and so on. So I had a call with the secretariat of the committee, and if you do it before the 1st of August, that is okay. So you don't be bound by the 15th of June, but as long as you submit it by the 1st of August, that would be great. So look at that document, Khaled and others, DCI in Geneva, of course, and Alex knows about this particular document. And we should then provide all the information we have to contribute to a set of concluding observations and recommendations from the Committee on the Rights of the Child to the Israeli government. The other part of it is that I don't know whether Alex or others are possible to organize that, but at least it is also a tradition that this kind of meetings of committee can be followed live stream. So if you make it known to the rest of the world that Israel is appearing before the Committee on the Rights of the Child, and that you should attend that meeting by the support of the current technology, and follow the live stream that particular session of the committee. Listen to the questions of the committee, to the answers by the Israeli government, and also I certainly have the intention to be there in person on, there's not a date yet, but it is the session in September. It starts at the end of August, and it runs into for 3 weeks session of the committee. And we should, as NGO world, following very closely that meeting, and have as many children and young people also following live stream that particular session. So that is, I think, what we can do, and what we can do in terms of also using the concluding observations, which of course will be ready by the end of September. Use them not only, let's say, to call on the Israeli government to follow the recommendations of the committee, but also to confront our own governments with those recommendations to the Israeli government, and call on our own government to urge the Israeli government to follow and implement the recommendations of the Committee on the Rights of the Child. So that is what we can do as an international NGO community, to follow as closely as possible the, let's say, examination of what the government of Israel has been doing so far till September this year in respecting and implementing the children's rights, not only of the children in Israel, but also the children in Gaza and in the occupied territories, the West Bank. So, and that is something that we need to have as much support we can. We can try to not only do that by ourselves as a DCI, but also to involve and collaborate with other NGOs, like Oxfam Novib in the Netherlands, like TEDSOM, like Save the Children, and others. UNICEF should be also very visible, present at that particular meeting. So that's it for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Doek, for the very practical suggestion. We are in Italy as well. I think we have there are implications in terms of army furniture to Israel. So your suggestion is very welcome also here in order to envisage some action. And I think it's particularly important. Somebody wrote it in the chat, but we speak about this reporting of Israel in every webinar as, you know, a very topical moment. And your suggestions are very, very useful in terms of, you know, starting addressing this situation in a very specific way. So organizing an action on these, I think it's very important. I think that, as you pointed out, DCI-Palestine is closely monitoring the situation. And of course, our perspective is very much based on children's rights as this series of seminars. So I think these are really good occasion. And thank you very much for the courage. I mean, it's very difficult, as I was saying at the beginning, in this very dramatic moment to, you know, doing some active proposal. So thank you very much also for this energy that you are sharing with us in very practical terms for orienting our action. I was wondering if Khaled would like to say something. He has been mentioned a few times along the speech of the two previous panelists, and maybe you want also to provide also some more sense about this webinar that we are doing, and these and which are very close to the kind of intention that were proposed by our panelists. So Khaled, please tell us your thinking about this.
Thank you very much, Pippo. And of course, I very much thank to Moushira and to Jaap, Doek, as expertise in the child rights globally. So you are really, we learned a lot from both of you. And I would like to start by how much I'm very much affected by your presentations. It's really, we are lucky that we have both of you in the same webinar, since you showed how much you are committed to the children's rights and how much you are practical, not only talking and analyzing what is happening. So as a human rights, as children's rights expertise, yes, we all agreed on the when we do analysis of what happened, what is going on in the occupied territory, what's about the violation and the crimes that are committed by the Israeli ongoing occupation against children. So focusing on the practical issue, I believe is very important. Myself, since I'm following the news I don't want to say every day, every minute, I'm following in the social media and the news, TVs. So my head become like kind of explosion of what I'm watching, I'm hearing, and even every time I saw some new news, even another video, I feel that all what I'm doing, my colleagues, all the friends around the world, I don't want to say failed to stop the genocide, but at least we are looking for a result to see the immediate stopping of the genocide and the killing against children. So what I heard is push me for more action, more active, to be more active, to keep reaching out, to talk about these crimes. Of course, many other around the world who are following the news, but of course we have to continue talking out, asking for stopping the genocide, and of course to hold the criminals accountable. And I like it, maybe one of the messages that mentioned that, yes, I think it should be, if there is any international action, care about what is happening and care about the future, they have to go back to the roots of the problem and take what is happening in Gaza now in the West Bank is to take it as a message to no more, to reach a point that no more occupation, no more aggression in order to establish the Palestinian independent state. But back again, those what called international community who are unable to stop the killing of the children, how I can trust them that they will, after the war, they will accept and they will go to build or to talk about the independent state in Palestine. Really, even sometimes I believe that it will be, the message was reached out and that the violence, the killing will continue. So let's go back to the roots of the problem to establish the Palestinian state and to go to the solution of two-state solution. So, but really, since they failed within 7 months and 5 days to reach that the ceasefire, I'm not sure that they will be interested or to be the Palestinian independent state will be in their agenda. So this is why, as a human being, as people, as Professor Jaap Doek said, that yes, we have to continue. Any individual, any group, any international organization, anyone who can participate, contribute on holding the criminals accountable, raising the voice to talk about now the initiatives when it came from the universities. It is something return us back to the 1960s and 70s against the war in Vietnam, and how they managed to stop the U.S. attacks against the Vietnam people. So I think I'm not going to share with you much about what is happening. All of you followed and you are following what is happening. Just I will try to focus a few words about the West Bank. The West Bank is not mentioned in the news because already Gaza is draw the attention of everyone around the world. But in the West Bank, people, including civilian children, are in daily basis. They are subject to be their houses to be raided by the Israeli ongoing occupation, the Israeli military occupation. Just the last attack 2 nights ago, actually, 1.5 days, the Israeli army raided the Tulkarem refugee camp, and they stayed there more than 12 hours. They damaged all the infrastructure, streets, demolished buildings, and they killed one of the Palestinian youth. So today our field worker was there after the Israeli army left. So in his start of documenting what happened, we found that Israeli soldiers used children as a human shield in order to attack the Palestinians inside the refugee camp, and they started to shoot against the Israeli soldiers shot while against the Palestinian people, while the children are in front of the soldiers. So to be, if there is any reaction from the Palestinians in the refugee camp, the children will be affected or injured. So this is a new crime, not a new crime, but it's like, I would like to say that all the child rights mentioned in the Child Rights Convention are violated systematically and continuously, and using children in human shield is not like a phenomenon. They used to do it maybe once a year, twice a year, but now it's used widely, and if I can say in a continuous way, like in Jenin Camp they use it, and in Tulkarem, and before in Nur Shams. So every raid, usually they use it. Just yesterday, a child in the age of 8 years old, he was playing in Tel Sultan refugee camp. It is near Jericho, 20 kilometers from the east of Ramallah. They shot him. He was playing with the scooter. So now he is in severe, he was severely injured, and now he is in Israeli hospital, and the soldiers, the army, called the father that your child is in the hospital, come and bring with you around 15,000 euros in order to pay and to the hospital in advance. So they shot the child, and now they are asking the father to pay money to the hospital. So this is, when we compare it with what is happening in Gaza, it is a silly things, but it is a grave violation against the children's rights. So this is about the Reddit and the killing. Of course, we are talking about more than 130, I think, children being killed during the since 7th of October until now in the West Bank. We are also talking about the other rights of the children are violated systematically, like right to education is unable now because the West Bank is become many cantons, like each city considered as a separated place. To move from city to city, it's high risky, and of course and it is not easy because of the checkpoints. Maybe they will be arrested, maybe they will be delayed. Like to go to Nablus from Ramallah, it's about 40 kilometers, but sometimes it took 5 hours in the best scenario. So this is another show about what is happening in the West Bank. Arresting children. So in our history of the work with the children in detention, Israeli military detention, we used to face every year 5-6 cases of administrative detention. Even from 2017, there have been maybe 1-2 cases yearly, but now about 1/3 of the children in Israeli prisons are under administrative detention. So I'm talking about more than 70 children. That this statistic, according to the Israeli Prison Authority publication, or how they published it in their website. So I believe that the number is more than that. Having children, putting children under administrative detention without knowing why, without knowing for how long they will be, and of course, those children are subject to torture and ill treatment without even not during the interrogation by the soldiers. So to see now everyone released, we used to take like a picture for them before and after to see the difference. Even within few months, the difference is huge difference. That you cannot believe that this man is the same one who was 6 months or 1 year ago outside the prison. So I can say that, conclude by saying that Israeli policy now, from the Israeli political level and from the military level, that there is a policy called the free hand to the soldiers and to the settlers to do what you would like to do, no accountability, and you can do. So more than 19 Palestinians killed by settlers with no one held accountable for that, among them children. And of course, when we talk about the killing, this means that the numbers of those who are injured may be double or triple or even more. Land confiscation, house demolition. So it's a free hand policy without any border or without limited. So in Gaza, the main concern now is what is happening in Rafah. Both of our guests talked about how many people, the population now in Rafah, more than 1,200,000. And Rafah used to be a city with around 200,000 to 300,000 in the maximum scenario. Now it's 3 times doubled or 4 times doubled. So it will be a disaster, it will be a catastrophe if they continue bombing, because there is in each bomb, we will become receiving hundreds of martyrs, those who've been killed. So I think it's in the discussion, even when I don't want to talk on politics, but even Hamas agreed for the truce. After they agreed, Israel government said, no, that's not the one that we agreed on. And then even the US are supporting them. Yes, there is some additions there, but need more. I don't know for how long they will keep waiting. 15,000 children killed, around 30,000 being killed, civilians. Under the rubble until now, more than 10,000. Just yesterday, I was following the news that Al Jazeera TV, they interviewed one of the neighbors, and he started to talk about how many still under the rubble where he is living there when he back to his building. He was talking about families still under the rubble since weeks and months. So for how long they are waiting, I don't know. But there are even other states, instead of pushing Israel to stop the genocide, still feeding them with more and more arms, while Israel is also protected from any accountability system in the UN. The ICC prosecutor, when he started to talk about dealing with the case, he received a warning and a threat letter from the head of the Congress in the US and many members, and now they are going to have a law to punish the ICC. So, and the team who is working against Israel, against the case of in the case of against Israel. So, in which world we are living? I think this pushes us again to what Professor Jaap started by. We must focus on the practical issue to keep work to hold, first of all, to stop the support and the fund to the occupation to continue these crimes, and of course to hold them accountable. Without accountability system in force, I'm sure nothing will be changed, and in the contrary, the crimes will continue us more and more, not only in Palestine but everywhere, because it will become like a model. That here Israel managed to do what they would like, and then the other states will also take it as a lesson to continue. We've been very happy of the reaction in the international community against the Russian aggression against Ukraine, but now Russian is forgotten, and now we are seeing in Palestine how much the complicity and the hypocrisy and the double standards. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Khaled. Thank you also for remembering the situation in the West Bank, which risks to be shadowed by the dramaticity of Gaza, but it's very important to keep present. And also, I think I was thinking while you were talking, really, that this systematic observation of things, on one side is really hurting us in terms of how can we talk about children's rights, but it's the logic that we would like to maintain, and it's the logic that will also help us in observing the situation. So I think it's painful but very important. Also, this monitoring that you are carrying out. I think that we are having a couple of quick reactions from our panelists. They both raised their hands. Thank you very much for that. Dr. Khattab, please, you have the floor, and then Professor Doek, and then we are going to show you a short movie, Hisham, that we would like to share with you. Dr. Khattab.
Yes, thank you very much, and thank you, Jaap, for what you said about the role of the civil society organizations in bringing the aggressor to justice, and in making moves that can halt the atrocities among the Palestinian civilians. I want to go back to the establishment of a Palestinian state with full-fledged membership of the United Nations, because this is the only way to guarantee the protection, promotion, and provision of human rights of the Palestinian children. So now the Security Council is prevented or blocked from performing its duties because of the American veto. But there is a way out of this, which is the United Nations resolution called Uniting for Peace. The Uniting for Peace resolution provides that if the Security Council is unable to exercise its role or its mandate, then the matter will be referred to the General Assembly, and the decision or the resolution of the General Assembly will carry the same weight of the decision or the resolution of the Security Council. So maybe, Jaap, through your role and the role of the civil society organizations in Europe, all can put their hands together and push for this. But we have to be ready when this is brought before the General Assembly, because I expect a lot of intimidation to happen against some member states, especially smaller countries, countries from certain, third world countries. Pressure will be exercised against them, economic or whatever, because it's the only occupation now is in Palestine. Every country in the world is free from occupation or imperialism or colonialism. Only the Palestinian people. And every country has the right to join the United Nations, except the Palestinian people. This is a grave violation of international law. The United Nations was established to achieve peace and security, human rights, according to Article 2 of the Charter of the United Nations. So how we can put our hands together to achieve this should be our agenda or priority as DCI International. The second point is what Jaap mentioned about Israel going to the CRC and the reply to the list of issues and our role in presenting shadow reports. We have to present shadow reports and to show the utter violation of the most basic human rights of Palestinian children. We can together replies, shadow reports, or at least through virtual meetings like this, we can agree on the elements in our shadow reports, and each entity, I can present a shadow report as the president of the National Council for Human Rights, and go to the committee with it, and the committee will have to listen. But this has to be a collective move, not just one party. The other point is the blocked supply at the Rafah border with Egypt. Israel is deliberately delaying the movement of the food supply and medical supply. It's a comedy that they airdrop some prepared meals and other supply is blocked at the borders, pushing the people, forced eviction of the population to go to Rafah and Egypt. This should be, this is genocide. People have been living in their homes for hundreds of years, and now you push them to become refugees, as if we don't have enough refugees and people on the move. We have to act to prevent this violence. It's utter violence. This is genocide. So we have to coordinate our action on our next step And we have the date that Jaap has told us for the examination of the combined report submitted by Israel. I haven't seen the report of Israeli NGOs because I remember as a member of the Committee on the Rights of the Child, the coalition of NGOs, Israeli NGOs, was very useful for us to support the rights of the Palestinian children. Last point is, Khaled, we need to work on the narrative of some Palestinian officials. It has to be more human rights based, because we see a turning point that some countries that are historically known to be supportive of Israel are now having second thoughts, are now supporting, contemplating recognition of the Palestinian state. We have to have a civil movement to help with the narrative. When some officials are going on television, what language should we use? This is very important because we are going through a turning point, and it can be a historical point. The thousands of innocent lives lost in this last war on the Palestinian people, it can be rewarded by finally giving the Palestinian people the right to live in a viable Palestinian state. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Khattab, for the relevant comments. I think Jaap Doek wanted to have the floor.
Mhm. Thank you. I have two questions. One for Khaled. In the middle of all the attention and the very justifiable attention for children in Gaza, I would certainly recommend, Khaled, to also, and in light of the coming meeting in September with the Israeli government, to give a picture of what happens in the West Bank, and also with concrete recommendations of what should be done, because that area is an area that is also full of violations of children's rights by Israeli military and colonists. But at the same time, it may be an area where we can, let's say, organize some very concrete support from governments that have recognized the state of Palestine, because, and that's my second question for Moushira, there are 140 countries that have ratified the state of Palestine. But the bottle is, as you rightly identified, is the Security Council. You don't become a member of the UN, a full member of the UN, without the consent of the Security Council. And your idea to have a kind of a plan to challenge the Security Council, and if it doesn't want to recognize Palestine as a full member of the United Nations, then we can use the resolution you mentioned on Unite for Peace. And what is important, I think, is if we can find what is known in the corridors as the friendly states to support that resolution in the United Nations General Assembly. So you get the countries, very well-known countries like Sweden and other Scandinavian countries, they all have recognized the state of Palestine. They may have an interest to continue, because your, let's say, kind of diagnosis of the coming years is that an important factor is the recognition of Palestine as a full member of the United Nations. If that position is secured by a decision of the General Assembly, then we have, at least to a certain degree, two member states of the United Nations that are negotiating, are trying to find a peace between themselves. And I think that is very important. So, and I think that Alex and his very small staff perhaps can start to contact some of the ambassadors in Geneva and raise this issue of a possible action, very concrete, to make the state of Palestine a full member of United Nations and go through the Security Council if necessary, because it is indeed likely that the United States continues to veto any particular action to get the Security Council to approve full membership for the state of Palestine.
Thank you, Professor Doek, for very concrete suggestion. I mean, it comes really to structure more this monitoring, that can help us in pressuring, third parties at various levels. Seems really a priority. I think we were planning to we have some questions, of course, that are coming on the chat, but before we wanted to show you a movie that, of course, can give you the time, if you have any further question, to have a last part of our session with some question and answer to our panelists, and point that you think are relevant to be made. So I will ask the technical organization to start this video. Is about 20 minutes, and it's something related with what Khaled was mentioning about the tension, and which is one of the things which DCI is particularly concentrating its work in the last years. So
I want to warn you that my battery is dying and I might disappear to look for a working charger, because all power connections are not working. So sorry to interrupt, but just to alert you, if I disappear, means my batteries died.
Okay, but yes, thank you very much for advising us on this. I think you really gave us a great contribution, and we hope to have you here with your battery also after the movie, if possible. Thank you, Dr. Khattab. And I think we can start this screening.
Each year, approximately 500 to 700 Palestinian children, some as young as 12 years old, are detained and imprisoned in the Israeli military detention system. Children go through harsh experiences during arrest, transfer, interrogation, hearings, life in prison, and even after they are released. In this film, we will hear the stories of 3 ex-detainee children: Islam, Qusay, and Osama.
اسمي أسامة دويكات، عمري 16، سجنوني إسرائيليين 7 أيام.
اسمي إسلام كامل، عمري 17 سنة، اعتقلت مدة 2 شهر في السجون الإسرائيلية.
أنا اسمي قصيب خليفة من مخيم جنين، اعتقلوني 29/1/2019. بكيت جاي أنا وأصحابي رايحين على بيت فوريك، بدنا نقلط على الحاجز العسكري، وفجأة طلعونا 3 جنود علينا وقالوا لنا وقف وقف، رفعوا علينا السلاح وإحنا وقفنا وحطوا ركوبهم علينا، وبعدها قعدونا شوي وعصبونا وكلبشونا في ايدينا، وبعديها أخذونا تحت البرج العسكري وقعدونا تحت المطر من الساعة 2 الظهر للساعة 3 الصبح، واحنا تحت المطر اجانا ضابط اخذنا كل واحد لحالنا، وصار يحقق معنا وصار يهدد فينا، صار يقولنا يعني بتروحوش وهسه بدي اضربكم. وفجأة يعني حسينا في مية وطلعنا يعني من تحت العصبة وشفنا الجندي برش علينا مي وهي الدنيا مطر، وطلعنا على الجندي الثاني وبكى يصور فينا فيديو. أنا بعيش بهذا المخيم اسمه مخيم جنين، وأنا بعتقلوا وبقتلوا وبضربوا غاز على الناس، والناس بتعرفش تنام بالليل من الصوت والطخ، من لما يصير بينهم وبين الشباب مواجهات. وزي ما اعتقلوني اعتقلوا غيري نص المخيم هون. اعتقلوا اغلب شباب المخيم وانا من ضمنهم. وهاي في فيديو بثبت يوم ما فاتوا اعتقلوني، هم الجيش صوروه. على الساعة 3 الفجر اتصلت الجيش، اجوا فاتوا صاروا طبشوا وضربوا اخوي على اكبر واحد، ضربوه وحبسوا امي لحالها، حبسوها بغرفة وحبسوا اخوي بغرفة وطلعوني من الدار. ضليتني ماشي بالسكعة، بكت الدنيا مطر ايامها، ضليتني ماشي بالمطر لمدة 3 ساعة والدنيا بكت مطر. طلعوني حط لتني وصلنا على باب الجبات، اجوا غاد غمضوا عيناي وظلوا مطلعيني على الجبات.
بكينا نتمشى انا واصحابي بالبلدة، مرة فجأة جب جيش صار يطخوا النار علينا، فدشوا علينا مرة واحدة مسكونا ربط يشدوا الكلفشات يغمغم عشان ما نشوف وين بدنا نروح، ونزلونا عن جبات رشاض، كان الجبات بعيد شوي، نزلونا علينا رشاض بدفاش ويزحزحوا فينا وهيك تا وصلنا الجب. فتح الباب مسكوني أزل من واحد، رفعوني رموني رمي جوا الدورية، حتى ما عرفتش وين أنا وين جيت قاعد، فرشيت ظهري بعرفش حتى وين رشيته، فلو ما شفت له فاتح الباب فيي، لو طلعت راجع على الباب كم رحت معك فلكاني.
بعد 12 ساعة وأنا تحت المطر وتحت البرد وأنا تحت البرج، أجا جب أخذني وأنا بكيت مكلبش ومغمغم، أخذوني على مقر الشرطة الإسرائيلية.
أخذوني بالدورية، قعدت على أرضية الدورية، حتى بكيتش عارف وين أنا رايح. وإحنا حتى بالدورية كانوا يتخوثوا علينا ويتساكعوا وهذا ويضربوا فينا بديهم وهذا، تا وصلنا المستوطنين رمونا على الأرض، وكانوا محاوطين ويتخوثوا ويصيحوا وحاطين أغاني ويرقصوا.
نزلوني من الجب على مستوطن الدوتان، قعدت 3 ساعة بالشتاء، بعد بشوي فوتوني على الغرفة، بكيت مكلفش ومغمغمات عيني.
خلونا برا بالساحة من 6 المغرب لل7 الصبح واحنا مرميين، وحتى بالليل لا بنعرف ننام ولا بنتسكع من كل شوي الجنود يجوا يضربوا فينا قوموا تناموش وهذا. طلبنا حرام على واحنا نايمين ما قبلوش يجيبه.
بعد ما خلصنا من أرائيل جابونا على سجن حوار الهيو. وبكن ايدي مربطات وعصبة على وجهي. دخلوني انا على غرفة 11 وبكن يعني اواعي مبلولات من المطر، وبكت الدنيا علي برد ونمت يعني في اواعي وبكيت بردان يعني، وحسيت الصبح بكيت اني مريض ومرشح. الاكل اللي غاد اللي بعد كلام مش مليح، اول 3 ايام ما اكلتش غاد، بعدين الواحد بجوع بعرف شو بده يعمل، صرت عادة ادبر حالي.
فتنا على غرفة بكاش ساكنها حدا، كان الوسخ على الأرض، الأكل الأصر الكبل على الأرض مش مشطوفة ولا إشي، نطلب إننا نشطفها إشي ما يقبلوش. حتى الفرشات فيها الفرشات هالركاك كثير عشان ما نعرفش ننام، شباك مفتوح عشان السكع عشان أي إشي يفوت هز. كنا ننام بالليل ما نعرفش وين الوقت، فيش ضي جوا الغرفة، بعد المغرب يعني تطفي العتمة، ما كناش نعرف وين بده يؤذن الساعة، ما كناش نعرفها.
في ال7 أيام هدول فيش يعني إلا مرة بعد ما فوتوا الكبار طلعونا 10 دقايق فورا وبعدين صيحوا علينا وفوتونا.
قعدنا 11 يوم بعذاب حمام ما تحممناش إلا مرة، بالموت أخرى بعد ما قعدنا أزيد مرة ننادي عليهم، كان صياح علينا، يعني كان عذاب.
Israelis and Palestinians are subject to two different legal systems: civilian law for Israelis versus military law for Palestinians. For Israeli children, the minimum age for a custodial sentence is 14. For Palestinian children, it's 12. While parents of an Israeli child can attend interrogation, Palestinian parents cannot. For Israeli children, the maximum period of detention before being brought in front of a judge is 12 to 24 hours. For Palestinian children, it's 24 to 72 hours. The maximum period of detention without access to a lawyer for Israeli children is 24 hours. For Palestinian children, it's 90 days. For Israeli children, the maximum period of time between charge and conclusion of legal proceedings is 6 months. For Palestinian children, it's 1 year.
In general, military courts should only be used to try members of the armed forces, because in general, the standards of due process and fair trial are much lower in military than in civilian courts. But children in particular need to have special child justice systems, and they never exist in military courts. So that's why children should never be tried before military courts.
The Israeli military detention system, the Israeli military court system, it is not a justice system. This is a system that denies children access to lawyers, physically ill-treats 3 out of 4 of them, denies them basic due process rights, and then holds them in pretrial custodial detention awaiting court hearings. Children are rarely released on bail, and this is a process of controlling the Palestinian population.
فوتونا عزة اليوم فرضية، طبعا بغرفة صغيرة هي، يعني الواحد بيعرفش يتحرك بيها، بس محطوط بيها بكلبها فرشة ومغسلة وحمام. الضوء بكى بوجه الواحد، يعني بيعرفش ينام من الضوء. بكينا نحاول نشلح أواعي الشباص ونحطن على وجهنا عشان نعرف ننام. بالزلزال لما الواحد بكى يقعد ما بكاش يعرف يقعد مليح، بده يركي ظهره على الحيط في زي الكسارة الخشني، الواحد بيعرفش يحط ولا ظهره ولا راسه عليها. عرفش وجو الزلزال محبط، اللون الزلزال محبط. بكذا ظني قاعد بس افكر وقت اطلع من الزلزال.
العزل مخيف للاطفال، بيوجه انتباهاتهم نحو الذات، فممكن انه يبدوا بيشعروا بآلام جسدية، بيشعروا بتعب، بيصير عندهم تفكير بشكل مكثف جدا، ممكن ان ينتهي بهم الامر الى تطوير هلوسات وضلالات اللي هي معتقدات خاطئة، بينفصلوا عن الواقع، بيخافوا انه ما حدا رح يعرف ايش عم بيصير معاهم، وطبعا هذه يعني هي تجربة خبرة مرعبة بشكل كبير. واحنا بنشوف كثير من الناس اللي حتى لما يطلعوا من الأسر ومن العزل الانفرادي ويصيروا فيما بعد سويين من ناحية نفسية، بيوصفوا تجارب في العزل تكاد تكون تجارب مرضية، تجارب زي النوبة الذهانية الحادة اللي يصابوا فيها بفترة العزل بسبب تطوير هذه الهلوسات والضلالات.
Between January 2016 and December 2020, Defense for Children International Palestine documented the ill treatment and torture cases of 610 Palestinian children. These children experienced hand and leg ties, blindfolding, physical violence, strip searches, verbal abuse, and other forms of ill treatment.
It is a general rule of international law that torture is absolutely prohibited. Secondly, every single act of torture needs to be investigated by independent state authorities with the aim of bringing the perpetrators to justice.
خضعت تحقيق لمدة ساعة مع جنديين، واحد بكي لابس مدني يحقق بالعبري، وواحد بكي يترجم لي يعني بحدي بالعربي.
أول إشي بقى يجي محققين عليه، بقى يجي 3 محققين يتناوبوا عليه. أول إشي بقى يجي باليوم أقعد 3 ساعات 3-4 ساعات بالتحقيق.
بعد ما خلص تحقيق أنطاني إفادة بالعبري عشان أوقع عليها، ما قبلش أوقع عشانها بالعبري، فأجوا قال لي طب توقعش عليها بتطلعش من عنا من عطشون، أجبروني حتى وقعت عليها.
صار شو اسمه المحقق صار يجي يرجع يحكي لي ده بتعترفش هسه نرجع داركم ونطبشها، وظلوا يهدد.
Israeli security and military forces are applying, and that is well documented by international monitoring bodies, all kind of psychological pressure that can be considered as psychological torture, similar to what the United States have been practiced in the so-called war on terror. The whole idea is to put so much pressure on those children that they finally confess to the crimes that they are suspected of having committed.
Israeli military law provides no right to legal counsel during interrogations, so Palestinian children are essentially alone in an interrogation room with a highly trained, highly skilled adult Israeli interrogator. Sometimes there's a phone consultation with a lawyer prior to interrogation, but what we found is that these consultations are not meaningful, often very short, and also do not create a third-party presence in that interrogation room.
بعد ما نادى اسمان وهات اجى تفتيش كامل الجسم، فتش وهات، ربطنا بايدينا وبجرينا بحديد وفوتنا على البوسطة بغرفة سوداء يعني عتمة صغيرة حديد، بكيناش يعني نشوفش الهواء الا بمزقان، بكي شغال 24 ساعة، يعني اذا طفى على الفاضي ما نقدرش نتنفس. قعدنا بالبوسطة بيجي 4 ساعات واحنا بالبوسطة، بكيناش نعرف حتى وين احنا رايحين، ما عرفناش الا لما وصلنا من جدة. كل الجسم صار يوجعني بحديد، قاعد انا حديد خلال 4 ساعات، انا قاعد على حديد، المد اجري بقدرش، تعبت كثير بالبوسطة، راس صار يوجع.
أنا كان المحامي إنك أنت اليوم مروح، وأنا يعني فرحت، وبعدين طلعوني وأجي صاحب أخوي أخذنا من حوارة، حاجز حوارة، وأجت أختي وأخوي أخذوني، وأنا يعني فرحت وعبطوني وصرت أعيط، وبعديها روحت على الدار عبطت أمي وعم خالتي وعمتي، كيف جوا وكيف برا يعني العيشة. سجن يعني ذل خراب إن شاء الله. شو جيت رحت لبست وتحممت حلكت، لو بعد بشوي عزت علي، في بكيت ناس تاركهم وراي ملاح يعني أصحابي، قعدت تقريبا 2 سنين وأنا وياهم نفس الغرفة عايشين، طولنا مع بعض يعني بكينا زي الأخوان وزيادة. بس طلعت هون تعلمت إنه زي فت على حياة تانية. حاليا هسه رجعت على الشغل، بشتغل وبصرف على الدار، ورجعت لحياة طبيعية زي ما بكيت قبل، والحمد لله هسه تيسرت الأمور.
كنت أفكر إني برجع للتوجيه، هم التوجيه إنه هاي فرحة العمر. بعد ما روحت كملت، بس كانوا زملائي بالمدارس قاطعين شوط كبير، في إلي 3 أخوي جربوا الاعتقال، كنت أنا الرابع فيهم، بس الحمد لله كانت فترة أقل.
السجن بشكل عام هي تجربة قاسية جدا على الأطفال وتسيء لنموهم الطبيعي وتسيء لنشأتهم كرجال ونساء في المستقبل، وبالذات إذا كان هذا السجن هو سجن سياسي مش سجن بسبب سوء تصرف أو تصحيح للسلوكيات تبع الأطفال. أنا بعتقد أنه هم بدهم الكثير طيف واسع من الخدمات، من خدمات الدعم النفسي اللي مش بالضرورة طبية. بعض منهم اللي بيعانوا من أعراض حادة مثل الاكتئاب، القلق، أعراض ما بعد الصدمة، الأعراض الذهانية اللي قد تنشأ في العزل الانفرادي أو في غير العزل الانفرادي، أو التمني الموت والأفكار الانتحارية. هدول بدون شك يجب أن يوجهوا إلى خدمات أكثر تخصصاً.
In the case of children deprived of liberty in Israel, we are usually talking about young children between the age of 12 and 17, usually boys, throwing stones at tanks of Israel. This is not a very serious crime. So for these kind of offenses, even if they are violating the military code of Israel, still the principle of measure of last resort applies. They should not be put in police custody. They should not be put in pretrial detention. And in principle, they should also not be convicted of such minor crimes that have to do with the general situation in the occupied Palestinian territory.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this screening, to DCI-Palestine for, documenting what I know is one of the main focus of its work in the last many years. And this was mentioned also by Khaled in terms of the West Bank. I mean, we are talking about torture. We are talking about ill treatment. We are talking about serious violation. And again, I think that monitoring these and sharing these, not just as DCI, but as a community of NGO, will be very important in the next months, also from the suggestions of our panelists. I'm not sure if Dr. Khattab is still with us, if her battery resisted the time, but we are having, to conclude this session, a few questions from our participants and to the panelists, and I would like to share it with you. Thank you very much to Liana from Green that systematizes and monitor the chat in order to be sure that everything is addressed from the participants. There is a question from Isabella addressed to our panelists, like, could the CRC committee consider issuing a statement urging child rights organizations to go to courts and try to get an order to prohibit the governments to transfer weapons to Israel, following the example of the Netherlands that was shared by Professor Doek? Coming from the most authoritative voice, that would certainly help. Forcing states to stop the transfer of arms through legal means would be a game changer. So I think that Professor Doek, with his experience in the committee, can tell us something about, would it be possible something that can give more strength to our action at national level that come from the committee, or some other channel that can make our request more authoritative and strong? Professor Doek.
Thank you for this invitation. But I first, after this particular video, I like to remind you of the fact that this particular presentation is the one that you can find in the report that I made with a group of people in 2014 visiting Palestine and looking at detention and looking at the proceedings in the military courts. There is a set of recommendations in that report which unfortunately still apply today. They have not been given any particular concrete follow-up, a little bit of changes in the arrest and interrogation, but not seriously, and Khaled knows everything about that. And my simple recommendation is to use it when you present the plight of Palestinian children in the West Bank, and particularly the completely arbitrary arrest for, as Novak said in his presentation, minor crimes that are responded to with completely disproportionate measures by the military. And currently the colonists are also a very serious problem in the West Bank. But anyway, that's the thing, and what I hope for in the course of this year, that we, or in the course of a couple of months, can we mobilize the international NGO community to campaign for all states to stop the delivery of any kind of weapons to Israel as a response to the ongoing genocide of the Palestinians in Gaza. And I think that is what Defense for Children can do, but also Save the Children, and TEDS, CRIN, everybody, international bodies should mobilize themselves, Human Rights Watch, whatever. And I know, and I'm aware of the fact that that particular campaign will be met with very nasty, serious, threatening actions from the pro-Palestinian world in this world. I know everything about it as a chairperson of the Rights Forum, and I can give you stories about what happens to the director of that organization being shown on social media with his wife, children, address, and everything. That's how the pro-Israeli groups are acting. It's disgusting, and it's a violation of privacy and everything else. So, but that is, I think, what is a challenge. And be as ready as possible in terms of your information and recommendations to the Committee on the Rights of the Child in September when they meet the Israeli government. And I would not be surprised if the Israeli government excuses themselves, since they are in a war and have no time and no interest in coming to Geneva and meet with the Committee on the Rights of the Child. That is another particular possibility which I'm very afraid of happening. So that's all I have to say for now.
Thank you, Professor Doek. I see that Dr. Khattab is still with us, despite the battery. So please, and she raised her hand. Please, Dr. You have the floor.
Thank you very much. Khaled just said that he's following the news by the minute and his head is exploding. Actually, my head exploded practically now when I read the news that Israel has occupied the Rafah crossing. between Egypt and Palestine, and they have blocked it. So now no delivery of any humanitarian assistance to the besieged Palestinian people in Gaza. This really proves everything we've said, that Netanyahu's government does not care about international concerns, international objections, international cautioning or warning, or regional, just to occupy. I mean, they raided the crossing and they occupied it. And it's obvious that Netanyahu thinks that he will not conquer Hamas unless the Israeli army goes into Rafah. Really, this is a very serious development, and I don't know how the United Nations Security Council will act to protect the Palestinian people from these horrendous developments. And now the Israeli army can have another attack. And again, I didn't want to say that the airdrop of food to the civilians in the show, because you're dropping 8,000 for millions of people, 8,000 meals for millions of people, and then you block the cars with the humanitarian assistance, and the Biden could not influence Netanyahu. And since the beginning of this war, it's obvious that the United States is unable to deter further attack, further violation of the human rights of the Palestinian children and the Palestinian civilians. Jaap, I want to ask you, what will we do? And Khaled, tell me, what should we do? Because this is a very serious development. I just got the news now on my phone. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we are developing our discussion in real time with very dramatic events, and that's make things very difficult. We don't have the time to think really, and at the same time we have to maintain this vision for these children. Professor Doek, you want to answer something to Dr. Khattab?
I don't have an answer. That's the simple answer.
Yeah, understandable. Khaled?
Yes, really, as the news that Dr. Moushira shared, yes, since it was started since yesterday early morning, not today. So the reaction of accepting Hamas the truce, the reaction from the Israeli was to raid Gaza, raid Rafah. And then they started by occupying again the border, the Palestinian side, and they raised the Israeli flag. And even the Israeli media talking about how they behave, the commander who raised the flag. It's it's Israeli talking only, that how they established Israel by occupying the Palestinian cities in the past, like Haifa and Jaffa, they used the same way, how they liberated like this place, while they get in without any resistance. Anyway, it is a reaction because Israel is unwilling to stop there, unwilling even to receive their hostages. They use it as an excuse to continue killing and to continue bombing. So what we expect, I never trusted the US, but now it is the test now, the final test is the US since the 7 months. Many times they took some decisions and they warned Israel not to do that, and then they followed them. Even when they started the genocide in October. They gave them the maximum before the end of the year. So 3 months passed, and then 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. So unfortunately, as we say, our people are saying that, yeah, we discovered that Israel are controlling the US. So they have the right to say that. So I think what is happening is, of course, Israeli plan is to continue the genocide, but also they've been very much provoked by seeing after Hamas accept the truth, they saw the children, the women, the civilians in Gaza are dancing because they hear that this is the end of the aggression, the killing. So they celebrated a few hours and then back the bombing and the tanks and the airplanes. So really something very much frustrated. So I don't know what will be the reaction from Hamas and the others, since there is the US and there is Arab countries who are guaranteed the understanding that they reached, but Israel is now back to say no. What Hamas agreed on, it's Hamas' proposal, but it's not our proposal of what we agreed on. And then the US said, yes, they have the right to say that, but this is the negotiation, and this is usually what happened. So they are not anymore caring about the ongoing killing, the starvation that now started again in Gaza. Since 3 days, they closed the border, and no more aid getting in. So what we expect is more and more killing, more and more loss of life, while the US are kept protecting Israel and declaring. Biden yesterday, he was declaring that we will keep supporting Israel, we will keep feeding them. So this reminds me when I was in Geneva a few days ago, I met the US ambassador. I told her, I don't want your support. Okay, you decided to support Israel with $26 billion, and the Palestinian for humanitarian aid, $1 billion. I told her, no, keep the 100, give it to Israel, because already they are going to kill the Palestinians with the 26 billion. So why to keep, to feed them in order to be killed? Save your money and kill the Palestinian with the 26 billion and leave them die while they are starving or they've been thirsty or something like this. Unfortunately, she was not care. She was liking this, like I'm talking about something. So this is where we are. And back to keep the struggle, we have no other option. We will keep work, we'll keep our doing our role, and of course we know that we are not alone, but unfortunately the question is how many victims those need to stop to see, and in order to stop the genocide. Unfortunately, this is my conclusion. Thank you.
Thank you, Khaled. I see also from the question, the last question we are having, there are questions about what we can do, and it's very difficult to find an answer to this dramatic situation. On Friday, we will have a strike. There are movement in the university. How can we build on this movement in some way? But I would say that today we had a very, very good suggestion on how to keep strong our attention and our action, like if we were parents of all these children that were killed in Palestine. I mean, I think we have a duty to keep this kind of vision despite the sufferance that even the assisting to all this massacre is providing us. So I think this is probably the spirit also of this seminar, and identifying a line of action. I think that if you have some last word to our panelists, I will give you a last word to provide us, a few other point or words that can help us. And of course, I mean, we will hear carefully. Dr. Khattab, Professor Doek.
Well, thank you.
Would you like to close with your words this segment?
Well, unfortunately, I close on a very, very sad note. And the proof is in the pudding now. Israel occupying the Rafah crossing has a signal to any democracy, any human rights defender. You are depriving innocent Palestinian children and their families of the right to food, the right to social protection, the right to housing, the right to shelter. You push innocent civilians into battlefields. This is outrageous. This is utter failure for international law. Nobody talks now about human rights unless we are attacked because there is double standards when it comes to human rights. It is appalling. I don't really know what to say. I'm speechless. I don't know if Jaap has something stronger than me. Jaap, you have to mobilize European civil society. That's what we can. We have to put maximum pressure on Western democracies, and I underline with skepticism democracies. When we see such utter violation of human rights and we cannot do anything. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Khattab. Mr. Professor Doek.
Very briefly, Moushira, I agree with you. We have to mobilize the international NGO community to take strong actions, campaigning for a full stop on delivery of weapons to Israel by all states that we can convince to do that. And I think that is something we have to do in the next 4 weeks, because we are facing incredible violations of basic human rights by the Israeli government. And we don't have, it's a matter of urgency to mobilize the international NGOs.
Thank you, Professor Doek. And I would like to thank everybody. This webinar will be put online also for other, for sharing it more. I really think it was important to meet you despite the sufferance and the lack of answer that we have at the moment. We will continue to keep the attention high and try desperately, but try to find some action that can make us and put us closer to these children we are caring about. Dr. Khattab?
Yes, please share the link with us because we need to spread it, and consider my problems with the email, send it by WhatsApp. Khaled, please. Thank you.
Very well. Thank you very much. So to our office in Geneva, to Krin, and to our panelists for spending this afternoon with us. I think it has been very meaningful. Thank you, Khaled, and thank you everybody for joining us. Being together, it's very meaningful in this moment, and try to think together. I think it's what we have the duty to do. So thank you very much again.
Thank you, and goodbye, and thank you, Alex, for organizing this. Thank you for Defense International for Children.
Bye-bye. Thank you.